So one of the things that we hear and we see out there in the cybersecurity world is people who are trying to make their break and get into cybersecurity. They'll say things like, I keep applying for jobs, but no one even answers or interviews me. I keep getting filtered. Nobody seems to be able to tell me what's going on. And so that's a very real thing. And I never thought it was as bad as it was until I tried it myself. So I removed my name and submitted my job application with my resume to a bunch of different job positions. And I was experiencing the same thing, which was quite a humbling experience, by the way. But it made me really understand the fact that there is a huge problem culturally in cybersecurity. So it really starts with HR. They use things that try to filter out the number of resumes that are applying, called ATS systems, where they're filtering based on keywords and things like that. And what that ends up doing is it filters out the right candidate and generally promotes, let's say, an improperly motivated candidate to the top. So then the company is faced with what ultimately comes to be a less desirable audience of people, and generally people they wouldn't want to work with anyway as a bad cultural fit. So how do you break through all of that, and what do you do to help yourself land that position? Well, I'll tell you, one of the easiest ways to do that is to work with Pima Community College and Tech Data. Well, again, we have an ecosystem of literally millions of businesses worldwide, all of which are very hungry for talent. So when you come through or with us, you are already starting ahead of the game because you're already a bit of an inside track in that you're a known entity and someone is vouching for you. But on top of that, Sherry mentioned earlier, sometimes it's who you know. And so it's not going to work for every major corporation. But sometimes getting to know the people who are working there and the managers that are working there, having them put in a good word when you're applying. But really what that gets down to is, instead of thinking of it from the standpoint of, well, I have to social engineer the people that are there to get a job, think of it more like this. You need to integrate in the cybersecurity community, and there are lots of ways that you can do that outside of the workplace. So cybersecurity groups like OWASP, groups like ISA or ISC squared, all of them are great places to meet and network with other cybersecurity professionals. And I promise you, if you get to know those folks, when there is a job position opening, they're probably going to let you know about it, and they're probably going to put in a good word for you. So integrating with the community does two things. One, it helps you get a job faster, but also it helps you get something very, very good as part of that lifelong learning process. And that is helping you to connect with other cybersecurity professionals. The fact is that no matter how smart you are or how motivated you are or how much energy you have, fighting alone, you will lose. But if you work together as a community and you collaborate with your industry, you're going to have a greater success. And so you can start from the very beginning by beginning to integrate with some of those cybersecurity groups that are out there. I'm not saying they're all good. There are many cybersecurity meetups and other things like that that are completely worthless. However, there are many that are of value and places where you can learn and get that opportunity to make those connections that will help you get those jobs. And the statistics bear that out. About 85% of people who were hired for a job had some kind of connection to the organization they got hired by.
Also, I would add to that, because I have lots of students that I've coached in the past and dealt with on this. You need to think about it from a business perspective, right? They have an HR department who may not be trained in IT, so they need some kind of metric to go by. Typically that has been degrees, like looking at a 4-year degree, or it has been certificates. And that's why you see this, is because it's a desperation on the part of businesses to have some kind of metric to point at to say, if they have that, then we can hire. That's where you put in your experience. That's where you've put in the things that you've done, so that all those keywords. So don't feel that you can't sell yourself. When you go to get a job, do that. And also understand that when you go to look for a job, that is your job. When you say you're trying to get a job, have you put in 5 applications per day? There's the nature of looking for a job is getting turned down, right? That is just part of the process. Don't let that get you down. That's just the way it goes. And then look for opportunities. Like, for example, If you start out, instead of a major big corporation, you start in a K-12 or with a school district. Think about it. They have thousands of users. That's something that you can put on your resume. So don't put down those small beginnings, and use that to get your experience, your idea, and what you can do across, because that's what businesses are trying to desperately to figure out. So make sure that you're selling the right info.
We also encourage students to think about experience in a different way. So many of our students are now spending a considerable amount of time in the cyber warfare range, for instance. Well, if you think about it, that's experience.
Yes.
If I've spent 40 hours trying to learn how to install a Blade server and install the operating system on it, and then hacking into it, that's experience. And that's experience that I can talk about confidently because I spent 40, 80 hours beating my head up against it. And I walked away with knowledge. I walked away with experience. And I can put that on my resume. So we coach students all the time to include those practical experiences in their resume. The network that they set up at home might be very elaborate. They might have spent hundreds of hours on it. Put that on your resume. You don't have to say it's a home network, but you can say, hey, I put together this network that does X, Y, Z. That's experience, and that's something that employers are looking for as well. So
that's great, Jim. And I was just going to say, one of the biggest things that we forget is sometimes a blanket resume isn't always a good idea. You have to focus and tailor your resume to the job that you're applying for, because unfortunately we have those filters that we have to make it through. The other side of that is I think it's our job in the industry to help HR departments understand what we're looking for. And it's not just a matter of fitting through a screen because someone has a badge, whether they have a 4-year degree or a certificate. It's really about what they have done. And those candidates shouldn't be just shuffled to the no pile. They should be they should be asked some questions. What is their technical ability? Because some people are just not great at selling themselves on paper, but you can get in front of them or on a call with them and realize, oh, wow, they know something and what they're doing is really important work, and they could be a great fit to the organization.
Totally agree. And I know that all of us work together every day to try to change some of those perceptions, to help the HR and the hiring managers to think differently about how they find their candidates, where they source them from, et cetera. And so that's work that we are accomplishing. But one of the things that you have to remember is that we're still just people dealing with other folks. And so to help people be successful, you have to educate them. I kind of find it very humorous that every time I say something on social media that's slightly insulting to HR, they ask me to keynote one of their conventions. So I just wonder if they're doing it to bring me close so that they can attack me, or if they're actually looking for information. But the fact is that I know that people in HR are likely getting the short end of the stick here. They'll say to you, I don't have the opportunity to learn every job. I'm hiring for 200 job positions. I can't know every one of them and then be very good at it. So we all have to work together. And I know that each one of us that's here on this call are working to find ways to help these departments, these HR groups, and these hiring managers be more successful in finding the talent that we know that they need so urgently. So it's a big challenge, but we can all work together to find the result.